Welcome. Uh, I will introduce in Bulgarian, but the seminar will be in English. Здравейте на всички, добре дошли. Радвам се, че можем да продължим това изследване за епиграфиката, което ни дава доста интересни перспективи за историята на кирилицата, особено за началото на историята на кирилица. Днеска имаме като гост доцент Димитар Илиев от Софийския университет. Той по принцип си е класически филолог, занимава се с текстове, обаче участва в един много интересен проект Теламин, за което вероятно ще ни говори днеска, което е за старогръцки надписи в България, от България. Те, че ние миналия път сме погледали по-скоро славянските кирилски надписи, а днеска ще видим и гръцки от времето на началото на писмеността на славянски, на старобългарски. Тече, много съм благодарен на Димитър, че се е съгласил да води нашия семинар и сега му давам дума на английски.
Благодаря, Марко. Благодаря на всички, че сте тук. Хвала свима. And now I will go into English, and thank you for the introduction. Thank you for the invitation to the project also, and to you personally. But I will have to say from the very beginning that I'm gonna present actually several projects which are connected between each other and which follow the long tradition of different alphabets, scripts, and languages on the territory of Bulgaria and of Southeastern Europe in general, on the Balkans. And I will try to focus, I don't know to what extent I'll be able to do so, and if we'll have the time, but we can always discuss some things in more detail if you're interested on the way we represent the monuments and the scripts themselves. But I will just give you a hint about the methods and tools of digital edition of different epigraphic monuments, and also about part of the analog tradition in the edition of epigraphic monuments. I guess that about the Cyrillic ones you already have, or you already know, or you have heard enough in previous seminars in this project, so I will not delve too deep into this. I will have to say that the several projects that I'm gonna present here, two of them out of the three I'm going to talk about are developed within the framework of a national infrastructure called CLADA-BG, which is a part of the European Daria Eric infrastructure of digital arts and humanities. And the last one, the newest one, is currently under development in the framework of the Sofia University Summit project, so I have to say this, but basically they all follow the same technological workflow and the same pattern. Now I'm gonna minimize this in order to show you the screen. The history of different alphabetic scripts in Bulgaria as well as on the Balkan Peninsula as a whole is long more than 2 millennia and a half, and almost all varieties of alphabetic scripts stemming from this Proto-Semitic prototype of the alphabet and expanded over the whole Mediterranean are to be found as a local heritage here, and they are taken care of, or they need to be taken care of, and especially organized in digital corpora so as to better study their mutual influences, which as far as I know is one of the things that interests you a lot in this project. So alphabetic writing in the form of archaic Greek alphabet and epigraphic monuments written in these archaic Greek have been found on the territory of what is today's Bulgaria since the 6th century BCE. And from then on, we have had different alphabets, languages belonging to different state structures and different cultures. We have, you see here the famous Ezer. We have local languages such as Thracian, mostly written with Greek letters. We have ancient Greek inscriptions from the time of the Greek colonies, but also from the time of the Roman Empire and beyond, the Eastern Roman Empire and the Byzantine Empire, and even after Byzantium in the Ottoman period, in the framework of the so-called Byzantine cultural space or Byzantine Commonwealth. We also have Byzantine and post-Byzantine inscriptions, which on the territory of Bulgaria have lasted since as late as early 20th century, especially on church murals and mosaics, which we will see later. We, of course, have Latin inscriptions from the period of the High Roman Empire, predominantly 5th to 3rd century, but also until late Roman times. We have Proto-Bulgarian inscriptions, mainly inscriptions of the Proto-Bulgarian Khans, the Proto-Bulgarian rulers, which were written in Greek. You see the famous Omurtak column. We have had Old Church Slavonic or Old Bulgarian, or as you might like to call them, depending on the region, inscriptions since early 10th centuries, which were written, of course, in Glagolitic and Cyrillic script. We have also Ottoman Turkish, significant Ottoman Turkish epigraphic heritage, which still waits to be rediscovered and described digitally. And we have worked, a team at the University of Sofia. We started working in the already far gone 2007. That our first incentive was to start collecting a digital online database of the ancient Greek inscriptions from Bulgaria. Okay, let me see. The ancient Greek epigraphic heritage in Bulgaria is really very bulky, very voluminous. We have over 5,000 inscriptions and counting, because the discovery of new inscriptions haven't ceased, and every archaeological season we have at least several new ones of them. If we count only what we may deem as ancient Greek inscriptions, the inscriptions written in Greek from the period of antiquity, we can say that this is 12 centuries of epigraphic habit, from 6th century before the Christian era until the 6th century of the Christian era, AD. And there are printed corpora on which we count for our information. There are two main printed corpora. The Inscriptiones Graecae in Bulgaria Repertae, published by Georgi Mikhailov in 4 main volumes plus 1/5 volume of Addenda et Corrigenda, published over the span of several decades from 1956 until 1995. The last 5th volume was published post-mortem of Mikhailov. Uh, uh, and they contain over 4,500 inscriptions, really great number of them, and they are the meta language in which they are described, their material description, the commentary, the bibliographical references, etc., is written as in the great epigraphic traditions of 19th century, is written in Latin. Here you see an example of a page from Mikhailov, and we also have the inscriptions from the period of late antiquity, mainly Christian in their nature, Greek as well as Latin. They are all published into one volume, which was edited by Veselin Beshevliev, by Professor Veselin Beshevliev. It was published outside Bulgaria in Berlin in 1964 under the title Spätgriechische und Spätlateinische Inschriften aus Bulgarien. So, especially from the Greek part, of course, we also rely on this. Much smaller but also very important corpus of late antique Greek inscriptions and Latin from Bulgaria. But there are also other publications, and scattered here and there in scholarly periodicals, etc. Some of them which, by the way, are very hard to come by, very hard to reach. They're not very accessible, and there are, even today, some inscriptions which remain in the inventories of the museums, largely unknown and unpublished. Although in the case of the Greek inscriptions from the period of antiquity, this is rarer than for the Latin inscriptions, which is a whole other story. But still there are some, and even those who are published, and that have been published even long ago, many of them are in need of update and revision, especially in the light of new discoveries in archaeology and new interpretations of old sources and documents. And many of these monuments, even the ones who were published since long ago and widely known to the scholarly community, they need at least a new photograph, or a new expectation ex autopsia, which means personal expectation and gaining personal first-hand experience of the letters on the stone and comparing them to the old editions and what they have to say. And sometimes it proves that the older editions are even more correct than the newer interpretations. And if nothing else, the meta language of the publications which exists needs to be sometimes rendered in Bulgarian and English, because a great part of these inscriptions lack descriptions in either of those two languages. So the digital edition is prepared according to a subset of TI. You know, probably most of you are acquainted with the TI XML standards for description and publication of scholarly content, of historical documents, of manuscript, and of all sorts of humanitarian collections dealing with various disciplines in the humanities, known as the Text Encoding Initiative, TI, and TI XML since the early 2000s has acquired a subset which is dedicated specifically to the description and online publication of epigraphic monuments, and it is called very appropriately the EpiDoc standard, the EpiDoc initiative. And now I'm gonna show you the website of EpiDoc. This is just as the Text Encoding Initiative Consortium. This is also a international initiative, a consortium of people and institutions which work on a regular and volunteer basis to produce guidelines how to encode inscriptions, and not only inscriptions but also papyri. Mainly for these two types of historical documents, all sorts of inscriptions. At first it was elaborated for the purposes of Greco-Roman epigraphy, for collections such as the inscriptions of Aphrodisias, the inscriptions of the north coast of the Black Sea from Roman and Byzantine times, etc. But now it is used for all different sorts of collections, including Indic inscriptions, Mayan inscriptions, and as you will see later, even for Old Church Slavonic material. This is a pioneering work, but the applications of EpiDoc guidelines and schemas are expanding. So you have a schema also prepared by EpiDoc, against which all the encoded inscriptions should be validated in order for them to be interchangeable with other collections that exists, and to be easily rendered into common databases, meta searches, etc., which which is now the new stage of digital epigraphy, which has been developing since several years ago. And different tools are also developed by the community, and what we did is we created EpiDoc compliant template, which was customized for the needs, the specific needs of the epigraphic material that we have here on the territory of today's Bulgaria and in Southeastern Europe in general. We are creating the content, bilingual content in Bulgarian and English. And we are using the two existing large corpora and other publications as a basis, but we also try to, this is done by our epigraphist, our epigraphy specialist, Dr. Nikolai Sharankov, mainly. We are trying to revise all the inscriptions anew ex autopsia, even if we don't see anything to be revised or corrected in the printed editions. All of them, which are published on the site of our digital collection is seen and photographed anew. And sometimes with the necessary addenda et corrigenda that where of course there are also new editions and new publications and new excavation finds that find their way into the digital corpus. For example, this is one of the most prominent examples, a new inscription which also made it into the national news headlines recently, several years ago, from the 1st century AD, an inscription found in the amphitheater of in the theater, sorry, of Philippopolis, today's Plovdiv, which provoked a new dating of this famous ancient monument in Bulgaria with several decades earlier. Before the publication of this new inscription, this building dedication by one Titus Flavius Cotys, it was considered that the theater was built in the first decades of the 2nd century, but now its dating has been revised, and it is currently considered that the construction of the theater falls somewhere between the year 70 and the year 19 of the Christian era, the Flavian period, which makes it roughly contemporary to the inauguration of the famous Amphitheatrum Flavium, or the Colosseum in Rome. We are using, as I told you, EpiDoc compliant TI template for the inscriptions and for the rendering of their the editions of their texts and their metadata in the original language, as well as in Bulgarian and English. And we are linking the separate records of the inscriptions to authority lists, which are also composed in XML. The authority lists are lists of different named entities, such as persons, places, ethnicities, organizations, etc., etc. Maybe also materials of which the inscriptions were made, types of inscriptions, types of objects on which a text could appear, etc., etc. We have several of these, and we link the recordings of the separate inscriptions with the authority list so as to create a database that is browsable and searchable in a very interactive way. I'll show you in a while. This collection of XML files needs to be processed by a database, by a platform which visualizes the separate recordings of the inscriptions, the recordings of the separate inscriptions, and orders the inscriptions in indices and filters them according to different criteria. And this is the platform that we created for our ancient Greek database, which we called Ajax. The Ajax platform is a basic visualization in indexing and database of all these digitized inscriptions. The technicalities behind this is that it is an SQL database which stores the XML files, and then the description of the files, which is rendered with different elements, attributes, and values in the XML code. It is called on the screen, so to say, by or as an answer to a search query by PHP. And there is a server on our website. There is a server version which is available for webmasters of similar projects to install and run them themselves. And there is also a desktop version which any epigrapher could download from the site, and then if you download our template, a template of one of our inscriptions, you can experiment by changing the content and creating a digital epigraphic database of your own. And now I will show you the website itself. The collection is called, as Professor Scarpa said, Telamon, which is I don't know if you're seeing my screen. I hope yes. We have geo-referenced all our inscriptions that are, well, currently there are not very many that are in the database. We're working on constantly expanding it. And here you see a list of inscriptions. Here you see all the metadata, which shows monument type, material, find spot, place of origin, where is it stored now, under what inventory number, physical dimensions, letter size, which is very important, and also layout description, where exactly, what exactly is the physical surface on which the text is incised. Category of inscription, we have a very thorough nomenclature of those, and also dating. Oh, this one is rather early, as many of the inscriptions from the Black Sea coast. The early inscriptions of the archaic and early classical Greek colonies, Apollonia Pontica, today Susopo. It is an inscription of the Apollonia Pontica's necropolis. You have one or more high-quality pictures which you can consult on the website in order to see with your own eyes the script, the layout, the disposition of the letters one against another, the lines, the ductus of the hand, if you wish. And then you have, of course, we have a apparatus of the inscription. You have commentary, you have bibliography. You can download the inscription itself, but you also have the two types of rendering of the text. This is a rather short text, as fits a tombstone, but you have the interpretive, the editorial edition, with all the editorial sigla that can exist, such as empty spaces left on purpose of the one who wrote it by the stonecutter, indicated as vacas, different type of editorial corrections and insertions or deletions. And then you have the diplomatic rendering of the text, which is of course not literally what you see on the stone, especially if you have sort of more exotic, so to say, Greek script, but it tries to render as close as possible the diplomatic layout of the letters on the stone, for example, which is typical for early Greek writing, only capital letters, no diacritics, and everything written in scriptio continua without any spaces left between the words. Here you have a longer text that displays different editorial sigla. some lacunae which were filled by the editor, some letters which are partly visible but unclear if not put in the context of the surrounding letters. Some parts, especially the so-called damnatio memoriae, which is lacunae which were brought about by the purposeful deletion of a name of an emperor or a provincial governor that fell out of favor. Solutions of abbreviations, which is what the round brackets are, and so on and so forth. And this is the diplomatic rendering, which shows you the scriptio continua and the continuous uncial script without any spaces left forwards, which of course together with the apparatus and together with the photographs which you can consult, can give you a good idea of what the original monument looks like. You have different indices, especially, for example, of the museums where a lot of the inscriptions are stored now. The lemmata of the separate words. You have a lemma of the lemma of one word, but you also have a word form. For example, agatus can be seen one time in the corpus, but different forms of the word of the adjective agatos, which means good, can be seen multiple times. Abbreviations and historical persons, especially emperors and officials. Here you see the names of the emperors that we have until now. Marcus Aurelius has two examples. Actually, this is Marcus Aurelius Antoninus Severus Caracalla. This is the Emperor Caracalla, so you can go to the list of the inscriptions that mention him, and you can see them also on the map and look at them as they are in the context. We have personal names, and we have attested persons, which is not actually the same as the personal name, because as you can see here, the name Alexandros, which could be a separate name by itself, but it could be also a part of a longer composite name containing also a patronym or a civic name, as it is usual in the Roman Empire, for example, Marcus Antonius Gordianos. You can have different attestations of one and the same name, and you can choose to see them as attestations, separate attestations of the name in different contexts. For example, Apollodoros. Okay, here it is, but you can also try to see the attested persons bearing this name. How do we know? And this holds true for many of the other projects of similar material that we're working on. How do we know if one Alexander, how do we know for sure, as sure as it is possible, that one Alexander is the same as another attested Alexander in another monument? We should have at least some sort of a title, occupation, or some other characteristics, perhaps an ethnicon, which was mentioned together with the name. So we have this Alexandros, son of Delias, which is a physician, and this is already we can say that this is already a bona fide person, that we can also study prosopographically and not only onomastically. You can browse the modern find spots, for example, Kustendil. You can also browse the original places where the monuments were derived from. Okay, here we have Heraclea, Rome. We have also places that are mentioned in the inscriptions, which are not necessarily the same places that they were found in. And so this is it. And of course we have description of the project, and here we have a distribution, server distribution and desktop distribution of our front-end platform, which you can download and install yourself if you are able to do so. The desktop installation you can try on your local machine without the need to connect to the server. And if you also download our template, for example, from here, you just download one of the inscriptions, and then it looks like this, for example. I don't know if you now see the code, and you can try to add your own content and see how it will work. You can use it not only to publish something for the wider community, but you can create your own collection for your own research purposes, which then can be visualized locally to see if you encode, let's say, 100 inscriptions, how often the name of so-and-so is mentioned in all of them. This will be automated in an index which is similar to the one that you see here on the Telamon website. The good thing about this and about every template which is EpiDoc compliant is that it is interchangeable, which means that it could be then used and adapted for different purposes. Oh, I forgot to show you. This is how the backend of the website looks, and this is how the backend looks of all our other collections that I'm gonna show you now. And you can see the separate XML files there. They could be, of course, if you know what you're doing, they could be also edited on the spot if you need to change something in them, and then after you save them, it will be visualized at the front end. For example, you decide to add something to the commentary or decide to change a translation or something like this. This will be, after you save them in the backend, it will be automatically reflected here at the user front end. And of course, this way of work, this workflow could be adapted mutatis mutandis to also other material of the vast epigraphic heritage of which we dispose here locally. And the good thing is that it can be also adapted to epigraphic projects in other institutions, other countries, and even other regions that deal with the similar sources, even if they're in a different language or different script. And we have decided to adapt this to work on the post-Byzantine inscriptional heritage in Bulgaria, predominantly from the 17th century. And now I'm going to tell you why we have chosen specifically this. This is the Orosis project, which I'm going to show you in a while also, and you will see that its front-end features are almost the same as in Telamon, but what you process as a source material, and of course what you see on the screen at the end of the workflow, at the user end of all this processing is somehow different. Of course, we are dealing with texts written in Greek in church murals, which we have from late antique and early Byzantine times here in Bulgaria, but which we also have from the post-Byzantine period, well into Ottoman times, especially in churches and monasteries, where they accompany inscriptions on the walls, wall decoration, murals and frescoes, and also icons. And the Orosis project deals mainly with church murals from post-Byzantine times, and it is based on, yeah, here you see one such example of rows, registers of saints from the village of Alino, from the region of Sofia, from the 17th century. And this is based on a particular monograph. Our colleague Tsvetan Vasiliev, Associate Professor Tsvetan Vasiliev, whose monograph published in Bulgarian, the Greek language in the churches with mixed inscriptions from the 17th century in Bulgaria, creates a small corpus of post-Byzantine church murals from the 17th century, which were predominantly in churches with mixed inscriptions, which is to say, with inscriptions that contain Greek and Slavonic elements. And this is one of the first projects of this kind concerning the digital presentation of Balkan post-Byzantine heritage, especially as far as its epigraphic, strictly epigraphic side is concerned. Probably many of you know, and I heard here the name of Professor Elisaveta Musakova mentioned. She was a collaborator. She is still, but her role was to make some of the art historical indices to our project. But you know that from art historical point of view, such murals are very thoroughly and very well studied in Bulgaria as well as in other Balkan countries, and post-Byzantine Orthodox iconography, be it in icons or church murals, is a large topic of art studies in all of our countries from the region, and there have been a lot of transnational programs and projects in this respect. Here you see the situation around the 17th century, where a lot of churches and monasteries in the western part of what is today Bulgaria were under the influence of the Patriarchy of Pech. Which means that a lot of Church Slavonic, Slavic inscriptions were predominant, and there were some cases where mixed Slavic and Greek epigraphic habit could be seen in one and the same monument, one and the same church or monastery. These are the churches and monasteries studied by the colleague Tsvetan Vasiliev, which are here on the map marked in white, predominantly from today's western Bulgaria and central and eastern and southeastern part of Bulgaria. What you see here in red orange, these are the churches which remained strictly during the Ottoman times until late 19th century under the jurisdiction of the Patriarchate of Constantinople, which means that no mixing of languages and scribal styles was possible, or it was rather rare in these monuments. Vasiliev's monograph concentrated on a selection of 330 inscriptions from 18 churches and monasteries from the 17th century. There are some art historical publications, but they deal, which is quite natural enough, with the art history. And and there are not only large corpora of the murals from 15th to 19th century, which are edited by the Bulgarian Academy of Sciences, but there are also some smaller corpora of particular monuments, the frescoes of Alino, the murals of the monastery of Zemen, and so on and so forth. Most of these, which is only natural for art historical corpora, treat the inscription as a part of the image. But what Tsvetan Vasiliev did and what we wanted to do in our digital epigraphy project was to actually make a proper epigraphic rendering of the inscriptions themselves with all the interpretive sigla that are characteristic of the editions in classical epigraphy, which in some cases very subtly but also very significantly, if you look at it closely, changes the picture. And here you see a diplomatic edition of a mural legend, and then the apparatus and the commentary and the normalized text, which is at the bottom of the description. Normalized text is something that you pretty often are in need of, because especially in the monuments with mixed Greek Slavic content, the inscriptions were produced in predominantly substandard forms of Greek. There were phonetic renderings. There were a lot of misspellings, and there were a lot of other curious cases. And sometimes these mural legends were made according to the so-called terminie, Hermines, the painters' manuals, some of which were edited and published in the Greek-speaking post-Byzantine world, the famous Dionysius of Furna Herminia, but we also have some local ones produced here in Bulgarian. The most famous one is the Herminia of Dichosograph, which was handwritten from the beginning of the 19th century, and which has bilingual legends, some sort of instructions for the painters what to write above or beside certain saints' depiction, both in Church Slavonic and in Greek. But we also have some other quotations or paraphrases from liturgy, from patristic and ascetic and ecclesiastical literature, from hymnography and from hagiography, some of which could not be seen in the Herminias, or in the Herminias it is rendered rather differently than in the actual monuments, and there are very curious cases of interpretation. I don't know how much time we have here to deal with such examples, but very briefly, for example, here in the monastery of Seslovci, I think this was. No, this was Karlukovo. In the narthex, in the northern wall of the narthex, there is a row of Old Testament prophets, and three of them are depictions of the prophet Varlam, Micah, and one which remains unidentified. And you see here the diplomatic rendering of these texts. Which are very hard to decipher, but if you decipher them, you see that they form a series. Prophet Varlam says, Kyrie o Theos mu, Ida oti, O Lord my God, I know that. The prophet Micah says, Ukimi axios, and the next prophet says, Ipotin stegin iselthis, which actually, quite surprisingly, because usually when a saint's figure holds a scroll, you know that on the scroll there is something from the writings of the respective saint or monk or a prophet, but this is, for example, you see here that the legends which describe who is who are in Slavonic, and the scrolls are in Greek. The scrolls are very hard to read, I have to say, but this forms a verse of a prayer before Eucharist from the service for the Holy Communion by Saint John Chrysostom, which reads, Lord my God, I know I'm not worthy for you to enter under the roof of my soul's house. Which is actually a very appropriate thing to say and to place as an inscription in the narthex, in the pritfor of the church, before you enter, if you are able to, if you are not a catechumenus still, if you are able to enter and to take the Holy Eucharist. So creating a digital corpus of these legends will answer different questions which go even beyond the readings of the inscriptions themselves. Were the readers able to identify the text? Was it intended to be read by the churchgoers at all? Why was one text distributed between three images? What did the painter think about the relationships between the text and the characters that he depicted? Was the text quoted by the painter from memory, or from an Herminia, or from some other text that he had before his eyes? And to what extent does the choice of the text imply any literary, liturgical, or theological competence, or they simply redrew by hand what they saw in some sort of a manual? And by establishing an interactive digital corpus, you could establish all these types of relationships and see if one and the same quotation was used in other scenes, if the same scenes were depicted elsewhere in other churches with different accompanying texts, how often such scenes and or such texts are to be seen in exactly this place in the iconographical program of a church or a monastery, on the northern wall of the narthex, and so on and so forth. The technical implementation is the same. We use the a variation of the epidoc template that we used for Telamon, but we have some rather different, for example, indices. And of course, very different commentary. Of course, we are very interested in the place of the particular inscription in the context of the church, which is something completely irrelevant for ancient inscriptions. You see the rendering of the text in an interpreting and a diplomatic edition. For the diplomatic edition, which is something very curious, especially for the purposes of your project, we tried different medieval Greek scripts that were developed for producing diplomatic editions of, let's say, Byzantine seals, coins, historical inscriptions, etc. For example, the famous Athena ruby developed by Dumbarton Oaks, but the Cyrillic Ohrid was the script which proved really useful for our project, because all the uncial Greek and uncial or majuscule Cyrillic letters, together with all the possible diacritics, varias, oxias, and so on, are to be found in a rather detailed way in our paleographic scripts, rather than in the ones produced mostly for the purposes of rendering digitally Byzantine seals or Byzantine manuscripts. So here you see, for example, one of the inscriptions, and you see, I hold that. Yeah, Prophet Nahum is very appropriate to show here. You see the editorial sigla. Here we don't have diplomatic text, and you see a very thorough commentary as to the sources for the inscription and for the linguistic and orthographic peculiarities of what is written. And now we're reaching to the third and most recent project, which is based on still yet another modification of the same digital epigraphy epidoc compliant template. And it is elaborated also based on a monograph which is to be published, which was the PhD thesis recently defended by Dr. Velichka Ilieva, which I believe is present here also in this meeting, and she could also answer some questions. She has focused under the guidance of her thesis tutor, Professor Anna Maria Tutomanova, on the digitization of Old Slavonic inscriptions from the so-called Middle Bulgarian period, or roughly said the period of the Second Bulgarian Kingdom. Here you see the different literary centers, churches, monasteries, scriptoria, etc. on the Balkans, which were at one point or another a part of the Second Bulgarian Kingdom, and some of them, some of the epigraphic heritage produced there was deciphered and described and published and edited in the Bulgarian epigraphic corpora. You know, there are two main volumes of those prepared by Otto Kronsteiner and Kazimir Pop-Konstantinov, one concerning the First Bulgarian Kingdom and the other one concerning the Second Bulgarian Kingdom, which encompasses inscriptions mainly from what is still today Bulgaria, but also some others which now fall outside the territory of Bulgaria. For example, in the village of Pirčuvo or Kritsova, which is today in northern Greece. We have used the collection, the corpus, the small corpus created by Dr. Ilieva. It is always appropriate to work with together with the one who created the corpus for different research purposes, and you have some collection of epigraphic monuments which were gathered according to some criteria beforehand. So we are aiming at the creation of a bilingual digital library of Old Church Slavonic inscriptions written in what is called Bulgarian orthography in the Slavic studies, produced within the territory of the Second Bulgarian Empire, Second Bulgarian Kingdom, and its neighboring regions between the 12th and the 15th century. This is Velichka Ilieva's corpus. we have excluded from our digital pilot edition inscriptions that are either excessively brief or too fragmentary to provide any meaningful information for scholarly analysis. Frescoes, partly because we might develop a parallel project of what we have done so far with Orosis to deal with frescoes separately, because as you saw, they present a whole bunch of different interdisciplinary problems in themselves, and also the so-called instrumentum domesticum, which is amulet rings, inscriptions found on cups, spoons, other household vessels, and also seals, because there is a separate subset of epidoc called sigidoc for the description of medieval seals. And if we start delving into this direction in more detail, we will have to apply the sigidoc template and work rather differently. The starting selection is the inscriptions from the 13th centuries. We have chosen inscriptions without incomprehensive parts, and we have tried to include inscriptions of different types, funerary building, etc., from different parts of this large 13th century and from various places. And we have some also we are using Cyrillic Ohrid and some other Old Church Slavonic scripts, mainly Cyrillic Ohrid, but you see here that we also have some problems with the rendering, the diplomatic rendering of the text. We have atypical symbols which are not always displayed well. I can see now here on this computer one of those is not displayed well, the so-called cup ch, чашковидно ch, I don't know how to say it, or and one of the letters for the e sound, particularly the so-called osmichno e, or the e coming from the Greek eta, which has the numerical value of 8, like si hrama, as you see it here. Even though there are Unicode symbols from there, and they are included in the old standard Church Slavonic fonts, for some reason when they are encoded in Epidoc TI, they are not always rendered well in the front end. And we also have had a lot of thought about according to which orthographic norm should the abbreviated words under a titlo be restored. For example, is this one STGO to be restored Sventaje go, or Sveta go, or Sveta go, or what? Especially in this Middle Bulgarian period, it is really hard to tell how did they intended to write it down and pronounce it. Should it be written down and pronounced in its resolved form? And now I'm gonna show you the for this collection we're not using Ajax. We have chosen one very for now at least one very lightweight rendering of the epigraphic material. Here you see the monuments, the yeah, exactly this Krčevo, Kricova inscription. All the meta information is encoded and rendered in the same way as with the Greek and the post-Byzantine inscription. Mutatis mutandis, because we have some peculiarities here which are, of course, very characteristic of these part of the epigraphic heritage and not of the, say, ancient Greek or Latin inscriptions or the church murals. You see here the diplomatic rendering of the now actually this is the, here we don't have the distinction between interpretive and diplomatic edition. We have a rendering of the text as close as possible to the original using the available fonts together with the epigraphic sigla, the triangular brackets, the square brackets, the round brackets for abbreviations, the square brackets are for lacunae, etc., etc. Here we have also, yeah, this is actually an inscription which has been lost in its original form, but it was restored, and this, of course, is reflected in the commentary. We have here apparatus. Here we have also the very peculiar interpuncts in the original texts, which also appear, at least this single interpunct is very characteristic also of the Greek inscriptions, but here we also have double interpuncts, which is very peculiar for later periods. And we are working on indices and authority lists, but we also have here some sort which we still don't have that well elaborated for the other projects, even though they're older. We have some analysis. Of course, our collection is rather small for now, but here you can see the distribution of monuments by material. By monument type, this is tablet, written on a wall, written on a rock, or written on a column. Here you see the distribution material. Here, half of the inscriptions that we have encoded so far simply say stone. This is why it's the majority of the ones, but if we have different types of stone expressly mentioned in the editions that we have used, we have encoded them. So you can see here marble, granite, limestone, some timeline of the different monuments that we have, which is also color-coded. You see here dots on the timeline, but these dots are in different color depending on the material in the object type. And you also have a map view with different layers according to the original location, to the find spot, or to the current location, which of course sometimes they coincide, but not necessarily. And you can also see this in 3D. So I think I've been rather long, so maybe I shall stop here, and these are my contacts, and these are the links to the different projects that I show them, and two of them are still in the very early phase of their development, so bear with us, but I was glad I was able to share them, even like this, and you're free to ask me anything or write to me about anything even after the session finishes. Well, thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for very impressive presentation. The work which you are made is very impressive because there is a numerous material
Yes.
and material which you try in the location. I think there is very interesting. I have a question. Is there paleographic analysis for the letters.
Well, in some cases, yes. In some cases, not so much. For example, in the ancient Greek, in the ancient Greek collection, especially in the cases where there are important features of the paleography of the monument, which help to define more precisely its dating or its or its origins. For example, the stonecutter's atelier. Sometimes the stonecutters develop very peculiar handwritings, which could help us trace the origins of the particular monument, who produced it, and from where it was produced from. And in the case of the church murals, in these cases, we do reflect these paleographical features, but not necessarily for all the monuments.
Mhm.
And many monuments say that yeah, this is a third century inscription, for example, because of the paleography, because of the lettering. There is such a sort of dating criterion in the epidoc standards, but not always, because this was not originally in the
Yes, yes.
none of the collections. This was the primary goal. But the good thing about digital collections is that if we decide to add yet another layer of commentary, of description, we can always do it on the top of what has already been published. We do not need to prepare a separate
Mhm.
edition. And who knows, we may at someday enrich each and every instance in our collections with some, at least very rudimentary description of the paleography. For now, we only do it in significant cases. For example,
Mhm.
this type of the writing of the letter K. This holds true for the post-Byzantine and for the ancient Greek inscriptions alike, is very characteristic of this and this Zograph school, or stone cutter's atelier, and so on and so forth. Or this is very particular for the regional script of Philippopolis from the 2nd century, let's say, or something like this.
Mhm. Thank you. Okay. Uh, do you have any question? Colleagues, do you have any question for Dimitar? Okay. If there is no question, I I I think I can in Bulgarian. И искам да благодаря още веднъж, Димитър. Аз мисля, че този материал, който сега, който всички могат да ползват, е онлайн достъпен, особено тези снимки
Да,
с данните е наистина много интересен и много полезен за изследване. А, Те, че надявам се и ние може да го ползваме за нашите цели,
разбира се.
защото щом имате многокачествени снимки, с снимки може да се прави доста
Да,
сравнение. Защото за нас е важно да можем да сравним гръцки и кирилски
да.
букви. И така.
Ами, материала е достъпен, ще се радвам да сътрудничим по някакъв начин. Сега зависи за какъв период и за какво. Значи понякога, примерно за античните надписи, те са, нали, както дело на нашия екип тия снимки, така и, нали, на съответния музей принадлежат също така, но предполагам, че за научни цели няма да има проблем да бъдат използвани материалите, които вече са налични. А пък тези, които също са много интересни, това може би са и снимките от църквите с смесено съдържание, защото там се вижда много ясно, може би още не сме кодирали, не сме публикували тия надписи, при които има смесване вътре в самия текст на
На двете езици.
на двата езика. Там това са почти изцяло авторски снимки на доцент Василев.
Мгм.
И нали, те са предоставени за ползване с него. Той докато е писал монографията си е ходил по църквите и манастирите и е снимал, нали, с много висока резолюция, много хубаво. И предполагам, че това за палеографски анализ е благодатна почва.
А, Колеги, извинявайте, може ли един въпрос? Грета Стоянова,
Може.
съм
Разбира се.
ученици университет. Искам да попитам дали, понеже не съм сигурна дали правилно видях, има ли отбелязване на лигатурите в изписването?
Значи лигатурите са проблема с лигатурите е, че лигатурите могат да се кодират. Има си информацията
Да,
за лигатурите може да бъде записана в става въпрос в изданието на надписа или в апарата към него.
в апарата към него.
А
В апарата.
в апарата имаме със сигурност.
Чудесно.
Даже понякога това е единственото нещо, което имаме в апарата на всичките ни
Чудесно.
колекции. Мисля, че го има и тук в... иначе, що се отнася до отразяването на самите лигатури в изданието на текста, това е трудно по технически причини. Първо, защото нямаме достатъчно букви, юникодски
Да,
символи, нито в кирилицата, нито в гърчицата, нито никъде, които да го отразяват. И второ, че няма специални издателски сигли за тях. За всичко има сигли, нали, за това кога нещо е изтрито, кога нещо е съкръщение, което е развързано, нарочно оставени празни места и какво ли не още. Обаче, нали, можеш да кодираш кога, примерно, ето тези две букви са в лигатура. Нали, има си специален код за това, high end ligature, нали, вкарва се в XML код, можеш да го опишеш ако искаш.
чудесно.
Обаче това няма по какъв начин да се визуализира. Или ако
Разбрах.
ти трябва да си измислиш някаква визуализация, примерно да е подчертано или да излиза в различен цвят и да кажеш, ето това е нали, тези букви, които излизат в червено, примерно, в издателския текст на надписа, това са буквите в лигатура, но това ще бъде някаква конвенция, която ти ще си измислил, защото няма общо възприето в епиграфската практика такова нещо, нали, както се знае, че квадратните скоби означават еди какво си.
Разбрах.
Това сме
Разбрах.
решили само в апарата да ги отбелязваме
Разбрах.
и никъде другаде за момента, но в апарата задължително.
И още нещо, един въпрос малко по-тесен. Предвиждали ли сте фотограметрия за трудно четимите надписи, т.е. допълнително визуализиране с някакви допълнителни качества, 3D модели, демо модели и така нататък? Има ли
Много хубав
възможност за
въпрос,
това
благодаря
технически?
ви. Предвидили сме и се надявам да го осъществим някой ден. Значи и фотограметрия за снимане от всички страни, и RTI, нали, това, което е за снимане от различни ъгли с различна осветеност. Това сме го предвидели, просто трябва да видим за кои си, защото честно казвам,
Заслужава.
не за всички надписи заслужава да бъдат сканирани от всички
Да,
страни. Един
точно. Да,
гранитен блок, на който има само нещо малко написано отпред, няма какво да го сканираш, нали, от всякъде. Но за
абсолютно.
някой не само е възможно, но и е наложително да се направи. И това е едно нещо, което давна го мислим да го направим и имаме, мисля, че и колеги, с които да се сътрудничим в това отношение и ще бъде интересно да го
Прекрасно. Аз
изпълним в тази посока.
искам само да ви поздравя, защото това е нещо грандиозно и съм изключително впечатлена. Ще го предам на колегите. Така че
Ами,
поздравления за целия екип и за вашата презентация също.
много, много благодаря. Той, нали, голям екип, ако събереш, нали, хората от различните проекти.
Мгм.
Има едно ядро, което, нали, техническия гръбнак осигурява навсякъде, но иначе, разбира се налага да работим с най-различни специалисти, но тъкмо това е интересното.
Именно, изключителна работа сте свършили и ви поздравявам всички, които са
Много
и
благодаря.
в бекстейджа, и в представенето. Просто поздравления за всички.
Благодаря,
Прекрасна работа.
благодаря ви много. Надявам се, ще продължаваме да се развиваме.
Добре. Има ли други въпроси?
Аз нямам въпроси, само бих искала да се включа
Кажи.
и да кажа, че Димитър Илиев е всъщност един много добър учител, много добър колега, много добър приятел. Много съм благодарна на професор Стоманова за възможността да работя с него и да ме научи на толкова много неща. Това е, което
Съм
благодаря.
благодарен за думите и да, чудесно, чудесно работим заедно и аз от своя страна трябва да поздравя Величка за това и се надявам да продължаваме така и за напред. Сега тъмън нова порция надписи ни чака за преглеждане и постепенно всичките поне от Второто царство се надявам да ще излязат, пък вече за първото ще мислим. Много ще сложим въпроса с ходенето и гледането е ексаутопсия. Нали, и за някой от тях, между другото, тук използвам възможността и нали, добре, че и Величка се включи, да кажа, нали, някои от вас, които са се занимавали с тази проблематика по-отблизо, нали, ние ги познаваме, хеле пък аз не съм изобщо специалист по нали, кирилска епиграфика, нали, аз се намесих като съвсем страничен, нали, някъде където в изданията пише, че еди какво си се намирало на Шуменската крепост, ами, но дори да отидем там и да искаме да го видим, много ще ни бъде от полза някой, който е бил инсито да ни окаже къде точно върху
Да.
нали, огромните стени на тази Шуменска крепост или върху скалата до нея, би могъл да се намери нали, някой, който може би е добре известен за вас надпис от корпуса на Поп Константинов и Кронштайнер. Така че тук също трябва да си сътрудничим за това нещо, защото някой от тях, нали, един до един, особено за тези, които са върху скала или върху стена написани, нали, не са описани къде точно се намират и дори да намериш мястото, нали, точното местоположение, може би ще бъде малко трудно, така че сътрудничество в тази посока също ще бъде много ползотворно за нас.
Добре. Добре. Значи, изключим